Yes, I had to learn that I need to rest from having seizures. Hey guys, and welcome to our second chit chat of the year, weekly chats we're having. I hope you guys had a wonderful new year. Today, we're going to be talking about things that I'm unlearning on my wellness journey and that you should probably unlearn as well. These are going to be very simple, but they're typically very difficult to do, especially if you've been doing them all your life. These are obviously things that I personally relate to a whole lot. So if any of them resonate with you as well, please let me know in the comments below. We're going to start off with the very first one, which is so important. And it's as simple as rest is not a reward. Did you hear that? Yes. Rest is not a reward, and let me explain. I know a lot of us are used to being on the grind, having to do things back to back to back, and we're happy that, we're locked in with our goals, the fitness journey, wellness journey, or whatever journey that you consider yourself on. But I want you to remember that you have to rest in between, not just because you achieve a specific goal, but because your body requires it. Me being a foreigner, I'm used to that idea that you have to keep working, keep grinding, and constantly do things to the point where I feel like rest is not something that my body is used to. When I was in high school, I would always do my homework, go to class, get all straight A's and do this and do that and do all of my assignments. And when I'm done with my assignments, when I'm done with studying, that's when I would take the time to rest. Same thing when it came to college. Wake up, go to all my classes, do the assignments, study, then go to the gym so I can, do my fitness and all of that. Then when I was off from school, I was also working where I would wake up, get ready for work, go to work, do what I had to do there, and then go home and work on my assignments. I was literally on the go, go, go. And I feel like I thrived in that, not knowing that it was going to hinder me. I think a lot of us can relate to the simple fact that we're always on the go, go, go because we thrive in that. We like being busy and we like having things to do because it helps us disconnect from our minds that are constantly on the go, go, go. So I had to learn that we have to rest the hard way. This happened in my college years where I developed seizures. Yes, I had to learn that I need to rest from having seizures. And this started happening in 2016 where one day I was living with my aunt at the time. And one day I was sleeping. I don't remember specifically what happened then because obviously with seizures, you have memory loss. But I do remember that I was sleeping and one day I woke up on the floor. And that began the journey of me having seizures. Now, I went to several different doctors. We did all the tests possible in the world. I had things connected to my brain. I did the EKG, ECG, whatever the correct terminology is. If it was related to seizures to find out the root cause, I did it, okay? I did sleep studies. I did all of those things. And throughout all of that journey of those experiments, they found absolutely nothing wrong with my brain activity that would potentially cause the seizures. This led to my doctors telling me that the reason that I could potentially be having seizures is because of sleep deprivation and stress. Mind you, those things were happening to me because of work and school. Two things that I needed to do absolutely to get to my goals. I wanted to graduate college, obviously, and eventually have a job within the field that I was studying. And of course, because I couldn't really afford college, I needed a job which would pay my bills and pay for my school supplies and pay for all these things that I needed. The car that I was driving to get to school, the car insurance, all those things, right? So I felt like I had no choice but to actually stay on the grind and keep doing those things. And in the end, it was not helping me because those seizures kept happening. Now, the one thing that I want to say is that the seizures were mostly happening when I was sleeping. So I didn't see it as something that really mattered, I guess you could say, or really hindered me. But eventually, I did start having seizures while I was awake. It wasn't often, but they did happen to the point where I did get into a car accident. And this, of course, changed my life because I had no choice at the time but to stay away from driving and do a bunch of different adjustments for my health and, of course, the safety of myself and others on the road. But throughout all of that journey, I remember thinking, what exactly is the reason for me having these seizures? I'm always doing this and doing that as I should. And now God is rewarding me with this health issue that literally has no explanation whatsoever. I remember being angry and being confused about the whole thing. But what I do not remember is actually taking the rest that I needed for my body to recover. And in retrospect, now I know the reason as to why I was having those seizures, because they eventually stopped. I also remember praying so many times on so many days, asking God for some guidance as to why this was happening so that I can actually do something about it. But all I really needed to do was rest, because when I eventually started doing that, the seizures stopped. I took medication. They did nothing for the seizures because what my body needed was rest. And now it's been several years since I ever had a seizure. I'm on no medication whatsoever. I do not have epilepsy or anything like that. It's just that my body felt like it needed rest. And at the time, I didn't truly understand that. And it took me so long to really understand that. But I pray that you get some type of understanding from this, where your body absolutely needs rest. I apply this in my everyday life, where even if I'm editing a video for my YouTube channels, I will take breaks in between so I can just get away from the screen and relax my brain for a little. Same thing when it comes to anything that I'm doing throughout my day. If I feel like I'm being frustrated within the moment, I take a break from that. The goal is not for you to finish as fast as possible. The goal should be for you to actually complete the task and be proud of it. And the way that I feel like you will be able to achieve that is by taking your time, taking some breaks so that your mind can refresh along with your body. I know that our everyday lives don't really align with that mindset, especially if you work a 9 to 5. Most places give you a 30-minute break, which absolutely flies by. Like if you go out to get some food, 20 minutes will fly by so fast, and then you're only left with 10 minutes to eat your food, which really blows my mind at the end of the day, because if you're working and you're only getting 30 minutes out of that 9-hour time frame, it's diabolical. Because hello, who normalized us working more than we take breaks? That is not okay. And that's something that I wish a lot of companies will take serious, because their workers would work better if they were able to take breaks that are longer and more beneficial for their bodies and their minds. So on my wellness journey right now, and I hope that you're on it as well, I want you to really drive this into your brain that your rest is necessary. It is not a reward for you completing that homework. It is not a reward for you completing that video, for you completing the work day or anything like that. It is necessary, and you should take little breaks in between that will help you thrive and be the best version of yourself. This leads me to the next thing on my list, which is going to be judgment or self-criticism. I want you to think about a time that a friend approached you with some issues that they were having, right? They sat down with you, they talked to you about the issue, whether it was their family, a goal that they didn't achieve, a boyfriend that was frustrating them, or school, or whatever it is that they sat down and talked to you about. And I want you to think about that moment and how you reacted. And I say that because I want you to think about the amount of compassion that you showed towards that friend that really helped them. I want you to apply that same compassion towards your own self whenever you're going through some things, because most of the time we judge ourselves so much harsher than we judge others, because we're constantly seeing the work that we do or the work that we don't do throughout our days, throughout our month or years. So we feel like we need to constantly judge everything that we do, every little thing that we didn't do throughout the day. And all of that to say that you need to stop, because it doesn't do anything but demotivate you. If your friend had came to you with some issue that they were having and you said some negative stuff and you judged them, they probably wouldn't come to you anymore in the future about issues regarding that same topic. So you need to do the same thing when it comes to yourself. If you didn't achieve all your goals throughout the year, it's okay. There's next year for you to show up even better for yourself. If you didn't accomplish all the things on your to-do list for the today, it is okay because there's tomorrow for you to continue on that to-do list. I know when most people think of wellness, they kind of think about physical wellness as opposed to mental. And when you're judging yourself constantly about every single thing that you didn't achieve, your mind is not going to be well. That in turn is going to demotivate you to the point where you're not going to even try to show up for yourself. So I want you to really give yourself some type of compassion for all the things that you're doing and all the little goals that you're achieving throughout your day, throughout your month, to really be better for your future self. And then we have the third thing on my list, which is failure is not the end. I think this is so important because if you really think about it, a lot of us fear failure to the point where we don't even try to do certain things that we want to. For me, even though I fear failure, I use that as my motivation to really go hard on all of my goals because I'm so scared of failing and being a bum that I'm not gonna let that, control my life. I have no choice but to win. But for those of us that feel failure to the point where you don't even try something, I want you to keep in mind that failure is the opportunity for you to learn and adjust. For instance, if you're making a new recipe and you didn't like the turnout, you're not just gonna stop right there. At least I wouldn't. What I would do is go ahead and try that recipe again and change some of the things that I put in there for it to be better the next time. If you had a specific sales goal as a business owner and you didn't achieve it, that's okay because you have the opportunity to learn from what you did, whether it was paid advertisement, word of mouth, the reviews you got, or even the products you sold. If you really look back on all of those things, you'll be able to learn something that will help you achieve that sales goal in the future. All you really have to do is sit down and really look at the facts and learn something from them as opposed to just accept them for what they are. And I think this is something that can be applied to any field, to anything that you're doing, because once again, each and every single time that you fail at something, meaning that you failed at reaching a specific goal, you can learn from that experience and apply it for next time so you can show up better, more knowledgeable, and more ready. And this ties into my next point, which is perfection is not the goal. Progress is. As I mentioned before, when it comes to failure, a lot of us fear that so much to the point where we don't even try, right? Because we want to be perfect. We want to have the best type of equipment before you record a video or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You want to have the best of the best before you do them. But the reality is each and every single one of us started from somewhere before we got to the point of success. But what we did do was learn as we go along the journey based on all of the things that we did. And because of that, we reached a point where people see it as perfection. But in reality, perfection was not there in the beginning. You just progressed to the point where it looks like perfection to the world that's looking at you. In reality, also, I want you to keep in mind that each and every single person that watches you may see you as perfection or whatever, but you in your own body and soul may feel that you're not at that point. It's just a perception that somebody may have of you. So rather than focusing on being perfect when you're first starting on a task, whether you're trying to build better habits, develop a better routine, learn a new hobby, it doesn't matter. What you need to do is just show up each and every single day in some way, shape, or form so that you can reach that perfection that you want to achieve. That may look different for each and every single body that is setting a specific goal that may be about the same thing. So focus on learning throughout the journey and applying the information that you're learning so you can progress within the task, the goal, and yourself. And of course, this leads me to my last point, which is comparison. This is something that I'm truly learning, especially with social media, because we have everything readily accessible to each and every single one of us. Whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever social media app that you use, you have a bunch of information from people where you're perceiving each and every single one of their lives as, oh, it is the most perfect life possible. And like I mentioned before, your perception of somebody may not be what they're really living. So you may be comparing yourself to somebody who's doing the best on social media, but in reality, their life is just shit. So that comparison is not motivating you. It's not doing anything but preventing you from focusing on your own personal journey. And you have to keep that in mind each and every single time that you open that app, because at the end of the day, each and every single one of us have our own journey that we're on. The reality is, if I woke up today and decided to set the same exact goal as another person, there are different things that I'm going to experience throughout my life that's going to either block me or make the process a little bit slower or even faster than the next person. And that's the true reality of life. So comparing yourself to another person that you see on the internet, it's not helpful. So before you do that, take a moment, take a step back from all the social media and really focus on your own personal journey, regardless of what it is that you're trying to achieve. Just because your journey is a little bit slower than the next person does not mean you're not going to achieve your goal. And so these are 5 major things that I'm unlearning on my wellness journey to help me be better for myself. So remember to rest because you need it, not because you achieved that specific goal. Stop judging yourself. Do not let failure guide your life to the point where you don't even try. Focus on progress rather than perfection. And of course, please stop comparing yourself to everybody that you see. I hope some of these resonated with you and that you're thriving on your wellness journey, regardless of what that may look like. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue with me on my wellness journey, make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more chit chats coming every single week. Thanks for listening, and I'll chat with you next time. Until then, bye.